A very high standard in entertaining us at such a jovial and high level indeed. Thank you very much indeed, the showstoppers. Right, well now it's from Canon Deegan, or one of Canon Deegan's own colleagues we're going to ask onto the stage next as your next entertainer, and what a super entertainer he is. He is, in fact, as a priest, he spent some time in this parish when he was curate in Convoy, and we're delighted to have him here tonight, Canon Tommy Doherty. Will you give Canon Tommy a real big clap? Because, and he's in a unique position tonight here, because Neil Blaney's sitting at his right hand and Paddy Hart sitting on his left hand. So, I don't know, that must make him the real Taoiseach, eh?
Good night, everybody, and thanks very much, Fergus. That was a nice tribute. Needless to say, I'm delighted to be here tonight because I've known Canon Deegan for a long time, and I'm glad to be here. I'm thrilled, as a matter of fact, because I spent 13 happy years in this parish. Happy years because the people were loyal and devoted, and times weren't so good, and this I won't reflect on the politicians or anything like that, but I had the privilege tonight of doing something I never had thought would happen to me, sitting between Neil Blaney and Paddy Hart. And you know, it wasn't easy to concentrate on what was the nice things that were being said about Canon Deegan. Well, I was trying to keep these two apart. Well, all that you said about Canon Deegan is true, and I hope he'll be spared for many. But I don't know what's it all about. 50 years, heavens, I was 10 years ordained when he came around. Nobody. I didn't know I was 50 years ordained until I read it in the paper. And nobody seemed to bother about it those days. Well, I could say a lot of lovely things about Father Deegan, or Canon Deegan, but enough has been said tonight. And you know, you can say the wrong thing. There was a priest one time in a certain parish in this county, and he was leaving. He was a very nice little man like myself. He dressed beautifully and all that, and quiet spoken. And this man got up on the platform and he wanted to pay a tribute to him, and he says, "I have known this priest since he came to this parish. And I can say without fear of contradiction, he was always both a lady and a gentleman." He worked very hard during all the time he was here, and that's as much as any horse could do. Well, there's lots more, but it reminds me too of the things that can be said. It reminded me of the parish priest who had a housekeeper who wasn't too honest, and she was leaving at the end of a fortnight, so he didn't do anything. She left, and he was very happy. But he wasn't so happy when she came back looking for a certificate of character. So he sat down and he wrote, "To all whom it may concern, Mary Murphy was in my employment for 6 months. She did me, she may do you." Well, I don't know about Canon Deegan, whether he did you or not, but you'll have to put up with him anyway. But a lot of nice things can be said. There's a story told about a priest who used to preach long panegyrics at funerals. And he came to this particular parish, and there was a funeral, and he spoke for a long time about the deceased, the great qualities, the great man he was, and all that. And his wife and daughter were sitting down in the congregation, and his wife nudged Maggie, and she says, "Maggie, would you go up and see, is that our man that's in the coffin?" I don't want to carry on too long either. There's a reference made tonight to Canon Deegan speaking too long. You know, the story goes about the woman with her little boy listening to the long sermon. And the little boy looked up and he says, "Mommy, is there no other way to get to heaven?" And then, you know, there's a story of the big seminar down in Cork. All the doctors were sitting at a big long table. And this doctor got up to speak, and he was very long, very boring. And a young doctor got out a syringe, and he called a waiter, and he says, "Go up and give him a jag." So the waiter jagged the wrong person. He jagged the chairman. And the chairman fell forward, and he was heard to say, "Give me another jag, I can still hear him." But sitting between the two great politicians, I was reminded of the story. I've probably heard it, you heard it before. We'll say it was Paddy Hart this time. I always say it was Neil Blaney, but Reagan and Thatcher and Paddy Hart went up to have a talk with God. And Reagan said to God, "When will there be peace in the world?" And God said, "There'll be peace in the world in 2050. "Oh," says Reagan, "I won't be around then." And Thatcher says, "When will there be no unemployment in England?" And God said, "There will be no unemployment in England in 2020. And Thatcher says, "I won't be around then." And Paddy Hart says, "When will Ireland be united?" And God says, "I won't be around then." And you know that unity will come someday, I suppose. But there's a gentleman in the north, you probably didn't hear about him here, called the Reverend Ian Paisley. He went into the hospital one day in this great big ward. He looked and he saw over each bed RC, 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 RCP, RC, RC. So he called the sister in charge and he said, Listen, I want to know about this discrimination. What do you mean, she says? "Well, I mean this. I come into the ward," he says, "and there's all the beds for Roman Catholics and only 2 for Protestants." "Oh no," she says, "Mr. Paisley, you're making a mistake. That's for breakfast in the morning, Rice Krispies and porridge." There's another one told about him going to the cemetery to pick a spot for his grave. And he said, "How much is that there?" £150, far too dear. "What about this?" "That's £50, far too dear." Then he looked at a swampy place and he says, "What about this?" "Oh, Mr. Paisley, you couldn't be buried there, it's a swamp." "That'll do me rightly, I'll just be in it for the 3 days. There's another story about him getting a present, as Canon Deegan got tonight. But he got a present of his suit length. And he went to the tailor, and the tailor measured him and he says, "I'm sorry, you're far too big. There's not enough cloth." So he went to another tailor, same verdict, "You're far too big, there's not enough cloth." Well, he went to a third. "Far too big, not enough cloth." "Listen," he says, "if I can't get it made in Belfast, I'll go up to Dublin." So he went up to Dublin and the tailor measured him and he says, "Come back, Mr. Paisley, in a fortnight, I'll have it ready for you." "How come that I'd search Belfast for a tailor to make it and I have to come to Dublin?" "Ah, you know," he says, "when you come to Dublin, you're a very small man." Paddy Hart reminded me of a joke that I told a long time ago, and he wants me to repeat it. Well, it's about a bachelor who had a cat. And he lived for the cat in his day. He adored the cat, and he had to leave to go to America, and he went to his brother, and he said, "Would you look after the cat while I'm away? I'll phone in a few days." So he did. And he says, "How's the cat?" And the brother said, "The cat's dead." "What? The cat's dead?" "Oh, that's a terrible shock. Why didn't you lessen the shock? Why didn't you break? How could a lessen the shock. The cat's dead. What else could it say? Well, he says, you could have said, the cat's up at the top of the tree, and the fire brigade are trying to get her down. And then, when I would phone the next night, you could say the fire brigade were bringing her down, but they dropped her and she broke her back. And then on the third night, you could say the surgeon worked all day, couldn't save her life. That would have lessened the shock. How's my mother? Says, your mother's up at the top of the tree. I may be holding other artists back. This minister was running a concert and the pianist didn't turn up, so he said to the audience, is there anybody there who can play the piano? So this lad got up and he says, well, I do a little at it. Very good, he said. So he came up and he said, before the concert, we'll start with a hymn. We'll sing hymn 100. And the pianist looked up and he said, I don't know that. Well, then we'll sing hymn 50. No, I don't know that one either. Well, what about hymn 20? Yes, I know bits of that, he says. Well, a little man at the back shouts, that pianist's an idiot. And the minister said, would the man who called the pianist an idiot please stand up? Nobody stood up. Would the man sitting beside the man who called the pianist an idiot please stand up? Nobody stood up. And then a wee man says, I didn't call the pianist an idiot. And I'm not sitting beside the man who called the pianist an idiot. But what I want to know is who called that idiot a pianist? It wasn't easy following that no-name club. When they came out first, you know the way, well, some of them were dressed. It reminded me of a man in convoy, and he used to say very funny things. And I was discussing one day about the times, and says, I now the girls, your daughters are working in the mill and they're doing all right off. That's what you think, he says. I have a daughter, Maisie, and she was going out to a dance last night. And I had a look at her before she went, and do you know this, Father Doherty? She hadn't as much honour as a tighten the handle on a spade. I was discussing one day about the flour, and I said the flour is not as bad as reported. I had just got some flour yesterday, and my sister made a cake, and it seemed all right. Now listen, he says, I have a wife as good a baker as anybody in this parish, and she baked a cake. She got that flour and she baked a cake last night, and I got a bit of it, and you know this, it would sink a duck. Well, Canon Deegan, you deserved all that was said about you tonight. Maybe you do talk a wee bit long. And I hope you won't be as I was one day, and I looked down and saw the man sleeping. And I said to the fellow beside him, would you waken him? He says, waken him yourself, or did you put him to sleep? Then there's another day. It's not easy, you know, facing a congregation. There's the other day when the lady got up with a crying baby, and she was carrying the baby out of the church, and I said, it's all right, madam, he's not annoying me. No, she says, but you're annoying him. When we were building the church in Creasla, I had to say a few words about money. Imagine that. There were a lot of tourists in the church, and an election had concluded the week before. So on this particular Sunday, I said, well, the election's over, and I'm not looking for votes, I'm looking for notes. And just as I said that, a youngster at the back gave an awful shout and a screech. And I said, now, if that heckler at the back would give me a chance. During the week, an envelope was put into my letterbox, and there was £1 and a 10-shilling note, and a little note saying, "From the heckler" at the back. I could go on, but I do feel that maybe you're getting tired. No? Sure. This lady was addressing a big feminist gathering in New York, and she said, "Where would man be today without women?" Nobody spoke. I repeat the question, where would man be today without women? And a wee man at the back shouts, he'd be in the Garden of Eden eating strawberries. This old housekeeper came into the parish priest and she says, "Father, your gate needs painting. As a matter of fact, your door needs painting, and the house could do with a lick. And your garage is a disgrace." "Bridget," he says, "how long have you been with me?" 38 years, he says. "Well, now listen, that's not my gate. That's not my door. It's our gate, our door, our house. Remember that." The following week, the bishop was down with him, and she knocked at the door, and she says, "Father, there's a mouse under our bed." Talking about lifting money, this man got a heart attack, and he was getting over it nicely. He was sitting up in bed when his wife got a wire that he had won £50,000 in the Irish sweep. And she thought if she went down to tell him that, he would drop dead. So she thought of the next best thing. Send for the parish priest, he would break the news. I never got a job like that to do, but anyway. Parish priest went down, he said, "John, how do you feel?" "Ah," he said, "I'm feeling great, feeling great." "And what about yourself?" "Ah, I'm all right," he says. "On the way down, John, I was thinking, if you won £50,000 in the sweep, what would you do with it?" "Oh, Father, if I won £50,000 in the sweep, I'd give it to you," and the priest dropped dead. And now a couple about Dunfanny. This old woman went to the doctor for medicine for the old man, and the doctor gave her the medicine and said, "Give it to him on alternate days." "All what?" "Alternate days." "I don't know what you mean, doctor." "Give it to him on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Now, when you give it him on Monday, skip Tuesday and give it him on Wednesday, and then skip Thursday and give it him on Friday. Come back on Saturday and let me know." And she came back on Saturday and she says, "Doctor, he's dead." "What happened to him?" "Oh, it was the skipping that killed him," she said. And in that connection, we have a chemist, a new man now, by the way. Jack McAuliffe isn't there. Well, he's there, but he's not a chemist anymore. And I'm sorry, because when I mention Jack McAuliffe's name, they always give me 10% off for hair oil and stuff. And I always went on the theory that it, like the young teacher in America, one teacher's school, and she walked in one morning and written on the blackboard was, "Patsy Murphy's the best boy at kissing in this school." So she rubbed it all out and went on with them. At 3 o'clock she sent them home, all except Patsy Murphy. So the boys were outside waiting for Patsy to come out squirming. But Patsy came out whistling. And they said, "What happened?" "I ain't going to tell you," he says, "but it pays to advertise." And another one for Canon Deegan. This priest was asked to preach a charity sermon down in Texas. And he went out to this great big Gothic church, and there was only one man sitting in the church. So he didn't know what to do. There was some confusion about it all. And he decided that he'd go and preach the sermon, which he did. And he talked for half an hour. And then he finished up and he went down to the big man. He says, "What did you think of that?" "Well," he says, "you know, I'm just a Texan farmer. Just a farmer. Know nothing at all about preaching. I'm just a farmer. But I know this. When I go out to feed the cattle and only one old cow turns up, I don't give her the whole load." So Canon Deegan might remember that. This farmer in Hornhead had a ram, and it was banging its head against the barn door, and he went to the vet. He says, how can I stop the ram doing that? He says, there's only one way to stop a ram doing that. Play music. Music, yeah, play music. Never knew it to fail. I'll be out on Saturday. He came out on Saturday and he says, how are things? Oh, says the farmer, the ram's dead. Dead? Yes. Did you play the music? I did. Well, I never knew that to fail before. What music did you play? The only music I had was an old record of Frank Sinatra singing, There'll Never Be Another You. I referred to politics there a short time ago, and it reminds me of the story of the two lads in Belfast. And one met the other, and he says, John, where were you? He says, I was up at the BBC. What are we doing up there? I was up for an audition. What job were you looking for? I was looking for an announcer. Says, you didn't get the job. No, they wouldn't give it a Catholic. Then there's the one talked about the two lads fighting in Burma, Catholic and a Protestant from Belfast, side by side. And there's a bounty on the head of a Jap, £5. So the Catholic lad got £50, shot 10 Japs. The Protestant lad said to him, how do you do it? Well, he says, Hirohito is the Emperor of Japan. And I go out into the jungle, and when things are nice and quiet, I jumps up and I shouts, to hell with Hirohito. Up pops a Jap, and I shoot him. They met 3 or 4 days later, and he says, the Catholic lad says, how did you get on? I didn't get on at all. What happened? I went out to the jungle, and when things were nice and quiet, I got up and I shouts, to hell with Hirohito. And a big Jap jumped up and he shouts, to hell with the Pope, and I hadn't the heart to shoot him. There's a place down beside me called Glen, little village, and there's a pub in Glen, and it belonged to Mrs. Fox. She doesn't mind me telling us. And there's a great loch beside Glen Loch, fishing loch. This old man came into the pub one night, and the chap says to him, John, how are you feeling? I'm feeling bad, he says. I had a terrible nightmare last night. What was that? I dreamt I went up to heaven and St. Peter was at the gate, and he says, where are you from? Says, I am from Glen. Well, he says, you'll have to do either of two things before you get in. You see that little spoon? Take that spoon, go back and empty Glen Loch, and then you'll get into heaven. Or go back and stand out before Mrs. Fox's pub until she asks you in for a drink. And says I to St. Peter, give me the spoon. So Mrs. Fox gave him the drink. Reminds me of the story of a lad who used to order 3 pints. And the barman said, why do you order 3 pints? Well, he said, one is for myself, and the other 2 are for 2 friends who are not at home at the moment. I like to remember them by standing them a drink. This went on for a while, and then he came in one night and he ordered 2 pints. And the barman said, why only 2 pints? Oh, well, he says, the 2 pints are for my friends, but you see, I'm off it for Lent. Well, seeing that there's Creasla people here tonight, and that I was driven here, or at least I contacted my cooperator there, Father Conahan, he's here somewhere, I hope he didn't go home without me. Is he here? He is. Well, he's here, and there are McGinley's here too, and they're from Creasla, and you might have seen on the little film, Cutting the Corn, did you? So we'll all join in cutting the corn in Creasla, won't you? We'll end up with that. Is that all right, Canon? Dear Danny, I'm taking the pen in me hand to tell you we're now out of sight of the land. In a grand Allen liner we're sailing in style, but we're sailing away from the Emerald Isle. And a long sort of sigh seemed to come over all as the waves hid the last bit of Isle Donegal. Ah, it's good to be you that is taking your tay where they're cutting down in. This woman was up in bed and she shouted down to the husband, "Are you not coming up to bed?" "No," he says, "I'm waiting to put out the cat and she didn't come in yet." Then the priest in Creasla, not Father Conahan, but somebody, met Maggie on the street and he says, "Maggie, how are you doing?" "I'm doing badly," she says. "What's wrong?" "Oh, I've stopped praying." "And why did you stop praying?" "I was praying for 3 years for a husband and got none." "Well, Maggie," said, "you're doing the wrong thing. You're praying for yourself." "Yeah. Well, now don't pray for yourself. Pray for other people. And you'll always get what you want for yourself." That night she knelt down and she says, "Dear God, I don't want anything for myself, but please send me mother a son-in-law." I spoke to the captain, he won't turn around, and if I swam back, I'd be apt to be drowned, so I'll stay where I am. Oh, the diet is great, with the best of combustibles piled on your plate, but though it is sumptuous, I'd swap the whole lot for the oil wooden spoon and the stir-about pot, and Katie for Nance, me a wetting the tay where they're cut down in. They got married anyway and they went off on their honeymoon, and she was in bed and he said, "How do you feel?" I'm shivering," she said. So he got a blanket and threw that over her. "Now how do you feel?" "I'm still shivering." So he got another blanket. Maggie says, "Are you still John," she says, "you know, when I was sleeping at home with my mammy and I felt shivery like this, she used to put her arms round me." Well, he says, "If you think I'm going back to Creasla for your old mother this time of Should Patsy come courting or John Michael Mick put a word in for me with a lump of a stick, don't kill Patsy outright, he has no kind of chance. But Mickey's a rogue you might murder at once, for Katie may think as the longer she waits that a boy in the land is worth 2 in the States, and she'll learn to honour, to love and obey some ruffin that's roaming round. Lovely. They got to this big hotel in London and he left the room, and when he came back he forgot the number on the door. And there was a great big corridor, they didn't know what to do and they had to do something. So he went to a door and he knocked and he says, "Honey, honey, are you there, honey?" That's what they say the first night I'm told, "Honey." The door opened a couple of inches and a big deep voice says, "Will you get the blizzard out of here? It's a WC, not a bloomin' beehive." Goodbye to you, Danny, no more's to be said, for I think the salt water has gone to me head, for it dreeps from me eyes when I call back to mind the friends and the colleen I'm leaving behind. But I know that she'll wait, for when I bade her goodbye, there was just the least taste of a tear in her eye, and a break in her voice when she said you might stay. So please God, I'll go back to old Creasla someday. And seeing that I mentioned what a marriage in that song, I'll tell you about a girl who got engaged. And somebody said, "Did the girls in the office admire the ring?" She says, "Admire it? 4 of them recognised it. And now things are different from the old days. This parish priest was asked to do a wedding in a neighbouring parish, and when he went there, the couple were out standing in front of the altar, both in jeans, long hair and jeans. So he looked at them for a while, and then he said to the congregation, "Will somebody come up and kiss the bride?" You have been a perfect audience, I have to say that. Canon, I hope you'll be as lively, thank God, as I am in another 10 years' time. You know, the bishop phoned me one day, not this bishop, his predecessor, and he says, "Tommy, I'm making you archdeacon." "What's that?" said I. "Oh," he says, "you'll make something out of it." Well, I'd got a bit of publicity in the local papers, just fairly big print, you know, that I was, Canon Tommy Doherty was made archdeacon of the cathedral chapter of Raphoe. And I was walking down the street in Dunfanny when a woman came after me and she says, "Excuse me, Father Doherty, I mean Canon, I mean the other thing." Well, that's what dignitaries are, the other thing. So again, sorry for keeping you back so long now. And we'll end up now by lifting a collection for the... Finally, another story. That reminds me of the 2 Scotchmen in the bar, one waiting for the other to stand a drink. And neither of them made a move. And Jock got very thirsty after half an hour, and he says, "Sandy, I was out shooting yesterday." "What were you shooting?" "I was out shooting stags." "And how did you get on?" "Ah, I didn't get on at all until the evening, and then I came around on a rock, and there was a big stag broadside on, and I took careful aim, and I shot him in the ears." "In the where?" "In the ears." "What's yours?" "Mine is whiskey and soda." I think I'm being beckoned to get off, so I'll have to go. Pardon? Pardon? By special request. I'll not mention the priest's name, but he comes from Dromachel side. Anyway, all right. This shipping firm in Sydney, Australia, got a letter of complaint from a German firm of importers. And the Germans wrote as follows: "Dear gentlemen, there are 2 shipments of rice we get in their company ship was mit mice shit mixed. The rice was good enough, but their mice shit spoils the trade. We did not see their mice shit in their sample which you sent us. We ordered clean rice, and you ship shit with the rice. We would like you to ship the rice in one sack and the mice shit in another sack. And then we mix to suit their customer. Maybe you think we know buggers nothings. We tell you we know buggers all. Please write that we should ship back their shit and keep the rice. Or ship back the rice and keep their shit. Or ship back their whole shitting works. Well, thanks a million again, Canon, for inviting me over. I hope I didn't let you down. By the way, when you're sending the check, it's a capital D. Sorry, Father. What did you say? Pardon? Special request, yes. Well, unless you all join in with me. This is tough going, you know, because some of the priests sitting here know what I did on Thursday night. Is that right? I got up expecting some of you to help me out, and nobody did. And Father McMenamin timed it, and he said I was on the stage for 1 hour and 20 minutes, didn't he? Pardon? 1 hour and a half. And I didn't even get a cup of tea. Okay. Well, this is definitely now the last transport, isn't it? The Lone Moor bus was a bus in Derry during the war, the only bus in Derry that had hardwood seats. The rest had cushions, and the matter came up with the corporation. Nothing was done about it, and at a concert in Derry, we thought we'd put cushions on the Lone Moor bus. You could all join in the chorus, and it's a very pathetic thing, you know. In this age of glorious transport, you can breakfast down in Cork and fly in perfect comfort to have dinner in New York. But here in Derry City, the transport known to us is that terrible contraption called the Lone Moor. Ah, ah, ah. Did you ever ride through Derry on? The Romans had their chariots in peace as well as war, and Ireland too was famous for her dear old jaunting car. But science has advanced so far that it has given us seats of hardwood timber on the low. Low. Be sure to bring a cushion on. The GNR sends express trains from Dublin to Belfast, and Shannon sends out aeroplanes across the ocean vast. The flying saucers came and went, and they were marvellous, but they were only in the halfpenny place with the Lone. Ah, come on, Canon. Come on. Ah! You'll be sore, but notwithstanding on the Lone. You've read of Russian trials and about that awful ramp of victims sent in thousands to a concentration camp. Now if Russia and her satellites would take a tip from us, they'd sentence them to 10 years hard on that. Ah, ah, ah. Every picture tells a story on. But when we get to heaven's gates, St. Peter will be kind, and he'll ask us all about the place that here we left behind. And when we mention Derry, he's sure to welcome us, for he'll see we've done our purgatory on the Lone. So book your seats for heaven on. Now finally, and this is last, I want you all to sing, seeing that you're so good, I want you all to sing Amen. Amen. Come on. Try it again. The parish priest stood up and he said, I am the parish priest of this parish, and I get £60 per week. Curate stood up and he said, I am the curate of this parish, and I get £30 per week. The man stood up and he said, I am the bell ringer of this parish, and I get £1 per week. The man stood up and he said, I am the organist of this parish, and I get £100 per week. And the congregation sang, there's no business like a show. Thank you very much.
Well, he really is one of the wonders of the world, isn't he? Canon Tommy Doherty, give him a good clap there because it's great to have him. It's very good indeed. Let's see if he gets his seat back now between Blaney and Hart. That's the next. After all that, I think he's going to make it, you know, on the first count. There is. Hugh Conaghan, I think he'll have to look out. There's only room for 3.